actually our issues go away, because the only problems we have with our emotions sabotaging us is when we keep denying them.
Hi, my name is Terry Kierwak. I'm the founder of Shine.Online, your ultimate health and wellness directory, where you can search for your particular wellness challenge and find all the practitioners who specialize in addressing it. Today we have one such amazing practitioner with us. Melanie Stevens is a spiritual teacher providing personal and spiritual development courses in subjects including shadow work, past life healing, understanding spiritual awakening and ascension, intuitive tarot reading, crystal and energy healing, and much, much more. Hi, Melanie. Thank you for being with us. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you have such an interesting variety of skills that I always love how practitioners have different tools in their toolkit. But you've got crystals, tarot, energy, and shadow work. And I have learned a little bit about shadow work over the years, but what led you to into this entire world? Can you tell us a bit how you got started?
I can, and it actually dates back to 2009 initially, so it's going back a bit. I was 28. This is kind of the catalyst for me for my spiritual awakening, and my spiritual awakening is what's brought me to my path now. And this was a time where I was suffering. It was a what I would call a dark night of the soul experience. So where my world seemed to crumble around me. I quit my job. I was highly anxious. I had social anxiety, lots of fears and phobias. And I hit rock bottom one day when I just couldn't get out of bed. And
Is that why you quit your job?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just said I can't actually come back to work. I was off poorly, and I just thought I'm not going back. I'm not going back into my work.
What kind of work were you doing?
At the time, I was doing recruitment. Yeah, and it wasn't so much that one job, it was every job I'd had up until that point. The social anxiety was so strong that I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't feel good enough. I had imposter syndrome. I was just a bundle of nerves and anxious energy. And the socializing aspect and the turning up every day and pretending that I was confident and I was okay and I was comfortable was exhausting. And that one day was just my body saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. That's it. We need to rest.
Wow. It must take a lot of courage to realize you need to stop your career.
Yeah, it did, and it was, it was kind of breaking point for me. But my body couldn't go on living like that. There was nothing happening in my life that I was in any actual danger, but my brain was interpreting danger everywhere: work, people, social situations, fears, phobias. Life was one big scary concept for me. And that was
Wow.
when I couldn't carry on faking it and pretending that, no, I'm okay, I'll just get through another day. My body just said, no, this is it. So I just quit my job, and I couldn't get out of bed.
So, okay, you quit your job, you're in bed, and you must be going, what's next? What did you do?
So thankfully, and I love the synchronicity of this, a lady I was working with introduced me to a life coach and said, look, I've been where you are. You need to call her. I didn't really know what she did, but I knew I needed help. And really, she was my only option.
And what kind of work did you do?
Well, she was coaching me through different techniques for coping with my emotions. She was introducing me to people like Eckhart Tolle, who I'd never heard of before. So she taught me mindfulness, we call it nowadays, but Eckhart Tolle would teach about being in the present moment, EFT tapping, which a lot of people will be familiar with, things like Reiki, energy healing, meditation, something called the Sedona method, which is another technique for managing emotions, so that I could switch off that constant sort of high alert alarm that was going off all day, every day, calm my body down. And then once I learned to manage those emotions and I really understood myself better and understood where they were coming from, like my life completely changed.
Did it take a long time of practicing these things before you started seeing changes in your life?
It wasn't overnight. It did take a bit of time, but it was quicker than I thought. I mean, I worked with her for 3 months. And by the end of that 3 month period, I'd worked on multiple things: social anxiety, imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, and all of that. But I also wanted to kind of test this stuff to see how well it would work. And so I've been scared of everything, really, but heights is one of my phobias since I was a kid. And she said, I'll help you cure your phobia so that you can, that's one less thing to be frightened of. So she had
Really?
me climbing up step ladders in her lounge until I'd overcome that fear. And I said, right, I'm going to set myself a challenge because I'd got my confidence back after the 3 months. It took me about another 3 months, I would say. And then I jumped out of the plane at 15,000 feet.
No way. You were able to do that after 3 months? First of all, the 3 months to just manage anxiety is fast. So that's impressive. But that you were able to, uh, I have to say, I'd have an issue with jumping out of the plane.
I had to do a lot of work before I jumped out of the plane, and I had to, using the techniques she taught me, but also my newfound confidence, work my way through any fear I still had, any resistance. And I mentally rehearsed, which is kind of an NLP technique, mentally rehearsed going to the airfield, queuing up, filling in my forms, getting on the plane. I watched YouTube videos to see other people doing it so I could really visualize me doing everything, every step. And every time an uncomfortable feeling came up, I allowed it. I let it come up. I didn't try and push it down because that suppresses it. But I didn't hang on to it either. I just let it shift up and out and through my body, because that's the sort of one of the techniques she taught me, was just allow and let it go.
Wow.
And so I practiced that over and over and over again. And I would do deep breathing, 7-11 breathing, to get myself in a really calm space before I visualized it. So by the time I came to do the jump, my brain was convinced that I'd already done it before, because your brain can't tell the difference between what's imagined and what's real. It thinks it's the same thing. So my brain was thinking, oh, we've done this hundreds of times. This is easy. So I had no nerves at all.
It sounds like you did the work and then you were able to just enjoy the moment and be in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of look back now and think I still can't believe I did that. I was smiling and waving at the camera all the way down because I had it filmed, the whole jump.
Oh my gosh. Now, how did that transition into a new life path for you?
It took time. So initially, I mean, that was back in 2009 when I initially hit rock bottom and had my breakdown. But over the coming 10 years, I used all the practices that I was taught. I looked more into mindfulness. I started reading books like Eckhart Tolle's books and things like that. I started learning Reiki. I had Reiki sessions, I had readings, and I started just expanding my perception of what's possible, because I had this confidence that there are things going on that we're not aware of. There's energy working here. Like EFT tapping is all based on energy, it's the meridians in the body. So I just got more and more involved in that. I learned energy healing, I learned tarot reading, I was learning mediumship. I was, working with energy. I was doing my own shadow work to continue my own self development. And there was just like a little nudge, and it was in 2019 that you need to actually start doing this, not just learning it for yourself. You need to start sharing it. And I initially thought, okay, well, I'll do Reiki. I'll be a Reiki practitioner. And I did that for a while. I quit my job. I was an HR manager. I was earning a nice salary in a lovely charity. Quit my job, walked away from all of that, and started doing Reiki, but realized that my skills and my passion comes from communication, teaching, sharing. So I wanted to still be involved with the work that had led me to change my life, but do it from a teaching perspective rather than as a therapist. And that's when I started creating all my wonderful suite of courses.
Do you see any individual clients, or your approach is really to work empowering people through courses?
I love the word empowerment, because when I was delivering like Reiki sessions or doing tarot readings for people, I really thought, I want you to be able to do this yourself. I decided to not work one to one with people, but to create courses. And I've got students in 92 different countries who are taking my courses on Udemy. And that's what I love.
Yes, it must be a fun feeling to know that you're impacting people around the world. It brings home that we're just one large family, and we just happen to be living on different places on Earth. So, yeah, I can relate to that part. Now, what we've heard of a lot, and some people know about it, some people don't, is shadow work. Can you explain to me what is shadow work and why would people need to look into that?
Yeah, absolutely. And shadow work is so important to get people to see what it is. It's basically a sort of personal and spiritual development tool. And it's a way of looking into all of the suppressed and buried parts of us that we've buried throughout our lives, many of which during childhood. And the way we're conditioned and we're programmed as we grow up. So very quickly as children, we learn, oh, if I get cross and shouty and I'd say I'm not happy with something, I get punished. So I better bury that part because that produces a lack of love from my parents. But when I'm, doing things people pleasing, or I'm quiet, or I'm sitting down and I'm being a good child, I get rewarded. So we start to unconsciously bury parts of our personality that we are kind of programmed to bury. And the society around us does it. The parents do it, school teachers, siblings, anyone in authority. We sort of look around us for validation of us doing something right. This is why we've got so many people pleasers, because they've been programmed that, oh, you need to behave like that and then I'll give you my love, rather than them being authentic and saying, actually, I'm not happy about this and I'm going to speak up about it. So, shadow work is uncovering gently those parts of us that we've buried, either because we're ashamed of them or we've been made to feel that those parts shouldn't be visible. Because by not accepting every part of us, we're not whole, we're not complete. And it can cause illness, it can cause all sorts of problems when that energy, that whatever it is that we've suppressed, tries to come up, because it will try and come up and come out, and it will bring triggers to us to bring that energy up and out. So it's when we go into the shadow work ourselves that we can understand why we keep getting triggered by certain things, because it's something we buried because of our conditioning.
I'm guessing as we age, we kind of bury all of that more and more, and it becomes a distant memory, and sometimes even buried so far it's on the subconscious level. So how do you access those memories? What kind of techniques bring those up?
So a lot of it from my experience was through journaling, but also prompts. So I did some shadow work many years ago where somebody gave me some prompts about, remember the first time this happened, remember the first time that happened, and they'd give me the nudges for me to bring those memories up a little bit. And then I would sort of allow myself to sit quietly, almost in a meditative state, and just let the memories pop into my mind. And it really did quite quickly. It was surprising when you quieten the mind and you allow a memory to resurface, it comes up as clear as if it was happening yesterday.
Mm.
And then I would sit with that and I would journal, because with the memory comes the feelings, comes the emotions, and then we realize what we've buried. And for me, writing, and actual writing pen to paper as well. So I do a lot of typing on my computer, but there's something really cathartic about writing stuff down to get it
By
up and get
hand.
it out. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's what I've based the course on, because that's how I learned it and it was really beneficial. So it's a series of prompts and journaling and getting into that space where you can start to go into the shadow. And about halfway through, I have included a whole section on bringing in some self-love and some self-care, because it can be quite uncomfortable, some of this work. So it is important to really look after yourself while you're doing it, to make sure
Mm.
you're okay to face these parts of us that perhaps we haven't really ever looked at before.
Now, once you've uncovered these memories that were sometimes buried and are often triggering issues or discomfort in our life now because they need to be seen, does shadow work then provide techniques for healing them or addressing them or taking away their power so they don't override your health and your success? What's the next step with shadow work?
Well, for me, the awareness and the allowance and the acceptance was part of the journey. And by just allowing stuff to come up and allowing because emotion is energy, but it needs to move. And if we stop pushing it back down on autopilot actually our issues go away, because the only problems we have with our emotions sabotaging us is when we keep denying them. So
Oh,
for me, once I'd gone through the shadow work, I recognize all these parts of me, the bits I like, the bits I don't like, the bits other people didn't like. They're all part of me, and I allow them and I accept them.
so it sounds like the secret here is becoming aware of these elements that are causing us to be on autopilot so that we're mindful of these things, but also accepting of them. And when we accept them, that struggle dissipates and it improves our quality of life. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only pain we ever really have is the resisting the present moment and
Mm.
resisting how we're feeling. And it's the resistance that makes it hang around longer.
My the hamster wheel is going a million miles an hour in my head because I'm thinking that's great for situations where you feel like you need to control everything. But the flip side would be right now my dad has dementia and he's been placed in a residence, and because he's got extreme food sensitivities and they don't understand food sensitivities, he's been very sick, and I'm feeling loss of control. And what I'm hearing is that to simply accept that kind of loss of control, the feeling of powerlessness, and that might help me reduce my stress around it. Is that the principle of it? Is to accept those uncomfortable feelings that we have, such as powerlessness?
Yeah, absolutely. Accepting them and exploring them sometimes as to, okay, why am I feeling powerless? Why am I wanting to control this? And wanting control is a really big, common part of being human. We want to control our own situation or somebody else's, not in a bad way, because we love somebody or we care, but wanting control means you don't have it.
Mm,
So all you get when you want something is more wanting, and that's how the law of attraction works. If you want control, you just keep not having it. When you come to acceptance, everything just diminishes. And when we sit with our emotions and our feelings as well, they tend to move through us quite quickly. So you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to accept that feeling because I don't want to feel powerless. But when you allow that feeling of vulnerability or powerlessness to just move through, it actually dissipates really quickly. And in my experience, less than a minute. My emotions don't hang around long because I don't identify with them, and I don't allow my mind to start telling me a story about it or to start justifying how I'm feeling, because then I just get stuck with the feeling for even longer. And if
mm,
I can just allow it to flow through me, it generally then goes. And I accept then that there are some things within my control and there are some things that aren't, but there's always a divine plan unfolding somewhere. And that
mm.
tends to take the fear away as well, because I just kind of trust the process even when it's really challenging.
Yeah, I'm realizing that acceptance of sometimes where things at is the biggest challenge, especially when we don't like certain
Mm.
situations. And I think there's a Buddhist principle around the root of suffering is not accepting where we're at. So I can see that, but by the same token, we are programmed in many ways to want more, to want better, to want an improved quality of life. So, how does that intersect with manifesting? Because in manifesting, we want to visualize and feel and experience the healed outcome of where we're wanting to go. And if we're accepting of where we're at now, does that conflict with manifesting?
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I've had that conflict myself before, and I've thought, I want to manifest what I want, but I want to get really present. And if I'm thinking about the future, I'm not present and I want to just enjoy where I'm at. So I've combined the two by, say, I wanted to manifest a bigger house. I start to look at the house I'm in, and I love the house I'm in, and the house I'm in is beautiful. And oh, this house is so big and it's so spacious. And I might have a clear out and just move things around to make the house I'm in feel like it's my bigger house that I want, so that it feels as if it's already happening now. And then I step into gratitude for this beautiful big house I already have. And I would live in it as if I'm living in a house 3 times the size of the one I'm in. So I'm still manifesting, but I'm doing it from a present awareness perspective rather than I want that over there, and I don't have that over here, because all I feel then is lack. So I think, oh, what do I have? And let's just magnify what I've got by 100. So if I've got something and it's not very big, I'm going to act as if it's huge, and I'm going to live my life as if I've already got it. So I'm kind of combining the manifesting with the gratitude of where I'm at. And then, I mean, I have got goals written on, stuck on my fridge like everybody, but I've told the universe what I want. And I trust that it'll come. And then I just carry on living where I'm at as if I'm already living that life.
And then when you do that, the universe does end up bringing what you want, or the universe says, okay, well, you're happy with what you have. We'll leave it there.
That's the fear, isn't it? You think, but I don't want I don't want to be happy with what I've got, but equally I need to be grateful for it. So it's getting that balance right. And you think, oh gosh, 6 months ago I actually didn't have anything near what I'm wanting with my goal. And I might not still be achieving my goal fully, but look at how much closer I am to achieving it. And you will have taken several small steps towards your goal effortlessly without even really thinking about it, because those opportunities start to come in and you start to notice them. But yeah, I get what you're saying, because I've had exactly the same conflict in my mind.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned awakening, and some people know what that is. Some people have experienced it, and some people aren't sure if they have experienced it. Can you explain what having an awakening means?
I think a lot of people who go through a spiritual awakening do it through a painful situation. Very often, grief will cause a spiritual awakening, or loss. And it's when we start to question why we're here. Am I just a human? Am I going to die and I just disappear off the face of the earth and that's it? So we look for the meaning, we look for the purpose, we look for, well, what makes me happy? Am I really human, or am I the soul that's within this shell? Which is it? Who am I? And you start finding spiritual teachers and, having those kind of epiphanies when you read things that resonate with you and you think, I'm not only listening to this person speak and I'm understanding what they're saying on a mental level, but something within me feels like it's just shifted. And you might start seeing synchronicities when you think about someone, they ring you, an opportunity comes your way, everything seems to be a bit more aligned. And that's when you start to see the magic that's all around us. And the world suddenly stops feeling so solid and unmovable, because you start to see it being a bit more malleable and recognizing that we're creating every aspect of our lives with our thoughts, with our energy, with our frequency, because we are creator beings, we are soul beings having a human experience and not the other way around.
That's beautiful. That's powerful. Now, the other thing that you work with is crystals. I'm a little bit of a crystal addict, but how do you work with crystals? What do you teach about crystals?
So my crystal course is aimed at beginners. So I explain what crystals are, what gives them their energy, why has a crystal got energy, and how you can use them and how they can connect to the different chakras, and how the crystal's energy interacts with your energy and can actually bring about a shift in your vibrations. You can read books on crystals, people can talk about them, but until you've felt the energy of a crystal, and until you're familiar with your own energy and how that feels, you're not going to know what they are capable of. So in my course, I have a meditation, and you sit and you hold a crystal and you connect to its energy. And then you'll repeat the meditation with a different crystal, and you'll notice the subtle changes in how you're feeling when you hold different crystals. And I write them down, keywords. What did I feel like? Oh, I felt like sunshiny. Oh, I felt playful. Oh, I felt energized. Or, oh, I felt sleepy. And that's how I started working with crystals, is not what other people say they're good for, but how do they affect me? How do I feel when I hold a crystal? And so,
Hmm.
I will often have this crystal near me when I'm talking so that it helps with my throat chakra, because I know how it works with me because of my own meditating and journaling, the two of my favorite things. And that's how I started working with crystals. And again, I teach in the way that I've learned, because I know I've had the results myself.
Wow. I really like that because although I'm a crystal addict, I have had a tendency of intellectually selecting crystals because I wanted the benefits that were written in the books for that crystal. But I've never considered sitting down and listening to my energy with them.
If you can get in a shop and touch the crystals and pick one up and walk around the shop with it, and if you're just not bonding with it, put it down and pick another one up. It's almost like it's shouting at me to buy it. I know that's a good crystal for me. Somebody else might touch it and say, "Oh no, that's not for me."
One of the things that happened, I had a traumatic brain injury in 2011, and I wasn't able to walk, talk, function, and I became hypersensitive to light, sound, smell, any of the senses, just extreme hypersensitivity to anything. I would even react to supplements. I couldn't take herbs that are supposed to help heal the brain because I would have these massive overreactions. But one day I ended up in a large crystal shop, and I always thought, like many people, a crystal is a stone. It's just an object. And walking in that store, after about a minute or two being in my hypersensitive state, I started to feel the energy of that store. It was so much. I felt lightheaded. I felt dizzy. I felt not in my body. And that energy was so powerful. I actually had to turn around and leave. And that's where things changed for me. And I
Yeah.
realized the power of crystals because I was in this altered physical state. I was able to pick up on it. And now I have so much more respect for their power. It made me realize it's real. It's real. We may not all notice it.
I understand people sort of dismissing it and saying, "Oh, they're just pretty rocks." I understand that because at some point I probably thought the same. But I do think crystals have an impact whether you're aware of them or not, because we've got an energy field whether we're aware of it or not. We've got a soul whether we're aware of it or not. It's still there and functioning. But some people are highly connected to it, and some people are very much living in the physical where they're just disconnected from their own energy, which is a bit sad. But I do think that's changing, even with spiritual people. I think we are changing collectively as a species, and people are opening up to this stuff now more than ever before.
I love that you're teaching these courses because this is how this information can get out. And if people are curious, they can learn. And I think it's so much more fun to learn in a course than reading a book because you can get feedback and ask questions. What has been people's experiences in your courses?
The feedback I get is really what makes me keep providing more courses. The Spiritual Awakening and Ascension course I've got to help people to navigate through their own spiritual awakening, which can be quite a painful time, and to understand why we come to earth and about our higher self and spirit guides and all this really fascinating stuff. I mean, people tell me that it's life changing. It's they literally, that's the feedback I get from people, because when you can open someone's perception like that to something that they've never been aware of before, although it's always been there, that is life changing. And from then on, they will never see the world in the same way. So I get those sorts of comments from people. And shadow work, people tell me that they've been transformed through shadow work because they'd not even heard of it before my course. Something
Mm.
brought them to my course. They just thought, okay, I'll do that. And then, wow, they understand themselves better. Their triggers have dropped. They don't get so wound up by things. They've stopped reacting and fighting against life. And again, I get that feedback from people that it's transformation that they've achieved through those courses. And of course, I've got courses in intuitive tarot reading, in crystal healing, energy healing, all these wonderful things, all based around the healing modalities that I use to help people to be able to feel that subtle energy. And again, that can then create that transformation, and people can go on to be a tarot reader if they want to. They can go on to be an energy healer, or they can use it for themselves. And I do get a bit of a mixture of both with my students.
But that's impressive. I'm going to toot your horn a little bit. I've heard that you were voted one of the top teachers on that platform. So you are clearly popular. You are clearly well respected, well loved by your students. And it sounds like your courses are really life changing in so many ways.
Yeah, thank you. That's really sweet of you. And to see that as well, I think I was the fourth most popular instructor in the spiritual section on Udemy where there's thousands of instructors, and I've only been teaching these courses for 3 years.
Wow,
So
really? 3
yeah.
years?
Yeah, so
That's amazing. So that says a lot about you. If you skyrocketed like that in popularity, that's impressive. Wow, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's great confirmation that I'm on the right path to get stuff like that. And one of my courses is a bestseller, and to see that little label come up on the course as well, I just thought that's a big sign that this is my purpose. This is why I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm curious. Which course is your bestseller?
It's my first tarot course, actually, Master Intuitive Card Readings, and it's for tarot or oracle cards because it's intuitive reading. It doesn't have to be tarot. But really, it's intuition development using the cards as a tool to speak to your own inner knowledge and inner knowing, and that's the bestseller one.
I'm a little bit at a loss for words because you have so much to offer. You have so much knowledge to share, and it's transformational knowledge.
And that's how it was for me. There's not been anything I've learned that I'm not using in some way now in my daily life, and all of it's been not just beneficial but transformational. And when I
Mm.
find something that's given me that transformation, that's when I know that's something I need to share. I need to share it with people. Why would I keep it to myself? That would be mean.
Well, to our viewers, I love hearing stories of synchronicity. Please go ahead and pop your stories of synchronicity in the comments when you've thought of someone and they phoned, or you wanted to learn something and all of a sudden the teacher appeared, such as with Melanie. Give us these stories in the comments below. I would love to hear them. And if you would like to connect directly with Melanie, you can reach her on her Shine webpage, and we will have the link in the description. Melanie, it was such a joy to connect with you today. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with viewers?
Yeah, I think with all of the work I do and all of the courses I teach, they're all focused on energy and understanding energy. And I mean, I'm probably going to get the quote wrong now, but I think it was Einstein that said, the world will change when people realize everything is energy and frequency, and we stop thinking everything is solid and physical. It's all being created by us, and our lives are created from the inside out. And that's something I was taught a few years ago by somebody I was working with, and I've always remembered that, because when you shift within your frequency and your energy, that affects everything on the outside. So it always starts on the inside. So if there's any turmoil in your life, come within and see where the turmoil is on the inside, because that's where it begins. And once you've resolved that, everything changes.
That's brilliant. That is truly brilliant. Melanie, you are such a gift to the world. I am so grateful to have had a chance to get to know you more today. To our viewers, again, if you'd like to connect with Melanie, you can reach her directly through her Shine webpage that we will link in the description below. To our viewers, we love you. We love having you share this time with us. We are grateful for you, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you. Yay! All right, let's get the energy pumping. Woohoo!
That's what I do if I need to raise my vibration, if I've been healing, I start dancing like a crazy person around.